Alrighty then. Our first two races here in London have now been completed, and we are now going to use the Peachy Phoenix. I think I said that correctly. Yeah. We are now going to use our newly acquired Peachy Phoenix Standard for our next set of races, which, after looking through this orderly, the next two races I'm going to do will officially be with the girl racer here in London, and her name is Emily Morton. Also, I should also mention that the one thing that's very ironic about this car, as I just had a taxi cab there. Sorry, Governor. Governor, by the way, is another British slang if you're not familiar with British English. And the one thing that's very ironic about this car is that whilst the first three gears are basically as short as the Brands Hatch Indy circuit, the fourth gear in this thing feels about as long as the Nürburgring. Or at least I think it feels about as long as the Nürburgring. But what I'm going to do here is try and catch up to Emily. And cannot really say I know much about Emily, except for saying she does have a tendency to call the player a wanker for basically being ahead of her, as I just heard a woman screaming there on the pavement for whatever reason. And things at the moment are not going well. But hopefully I should manage to catch up to Emily in these next few feet. Whilst I am closing in on her, she is right there. Cannot really say I know the names of the streets very well, but I do know the attractions. And fuck off. I'm also pretty sure that is a Mercedes A150 I just ran into there. Or more specifically, a Mercedes A150 Avant-Garde. Although it probably could just be an A150. I'm also pretty sure Emily's car is meant to resemble a Rover. And I keep forgetting this fourth gear is probably the longest I will see in basically any car. And as I said before, fourth gear is basically feels like it's as long as the Nürburgring. But when you do get up into fourth gear, man can this car go zoom. As I have discovered from racing against this machine. I'm also fairly certain this is meant to resemble a Ford Mustang Fastback. You drive alright for a yank. Meet me here later and we'll see if you're up to par. I'm also pretty sure Emily's car is meant to resemble either a Jaguar or a Rover. It's definitely one of the two. Rover, by the way, is the name of a defunct British car brand. I think it also had part ownership with Mini as well at the time.
But I am going to win. Excuse me, boys, but I am going to win.
I would like to hear you say that again. So, I almost had her, but then basically because she drives a car with similar speed to what I have, I ultimately could not quite get her in the end.
Wanker!
And basically Emily has a tendency to refer to the player as being a wanker every time you lead her in a race.
I see. Slow and steady wins the race in your case.
And getting a little bit loose there after coming out of the river. And I have also thought about a reasonable insult for Emily if she refers to me as a wanker, and the term I've thought of is polished whore, because that's basically what I think she is. I mean, if she refers to me as a wanker, then that's what I'm going to call her. Because she basically is a polished whore.
I see. Slow and steady wins the race in your case.
It also wouldn't surprise me if there's the potential case of stereotyping in this game. Although that could just be me. Shit. Yep. I'm going in all the wrong places at the moment. Well, at least until now. And she is behind me. I am slow on the entry, she is closing in, but I might be able to get her this time. Oh, come on! There we go!
Well, that wasn't fair. Here's my number. Give me a call when you want to race. No funny ideas, though.
Huh. She literally said them... She literally said the words in the subheading as she actually said it. Glad to say I eventually beat her, though. In that sedan. And those are your results. I won by 8/10 over Emily, then we had Homeboy 2 in third, followed by Homeboy 4, and Homeboy 3, my correction, finished in 5th. And right now, I'd better get a replay. Because this is something I should do with my PT Phoenix. I'm also pretty sure the next race I wind up doing is going to be a hard one, because I know that whilst HJ, which is his nickname, or HJ just to make it sound simpler, he has a small car, which means he also has a reasonable handling car. And what that also means is it's going to make me question whether or not Emily's first car is going to be a worthy one for me to use in terms of trying to win both races. But either way, I am glad to say I did eventually beat her, even though my corner entries in certain areas could have been better than they actually were. Like there. Fortunately for me, however, I can say that 4th gear in this car basically is as long as the Nürburgring, or at least in my case, I think it's as long as the Nürburgring, and because of that, I'm able to get an extra turn of speed. And even though I had a poor entry through there, I was still able to somehow keep ahead of Emily, which is all I care about. It also amazes me to say I did not break those planks when I went straight through. But anyways, let's now go over to the head-to-head. So doing the cell phone, and now we are dialing up Emily.
Darling, you really think you've got an earthly in that?
I do. Because this is not your regular car. I'm also pretty sure this car is fast enough to beat you. And that's if I can manage to avoid the mistakes I've been making so far. But either way, I do think I have a shot. I'm also pretty sure there's going to be some shortcuts here for me to navigate.
Nice car. Is it Roman?
It's also because, well, when I was doing this race in HJ's first car, I was struggling immensely to keep the car itself under control, and I'm really hopeful in saying this does not turn out to be the same case with the PT Phoenix, even though I am weaving a lot. Okay, so attempt 3 with this race, because even though I've come close to winning this race in my 2 previous attempts, there always has to be the last minute mistakes
Very chivalrous, I'm sure.
that somehow prevent me, or last minute circumstances that always seem to prevent me from winning this race properly.
Bye!
Which, at this point, I'm not surprised over.
I see. Slow and steady wins the race in your case.
Well, at least I can say this car does not have a tendency to just slam on the brakes. And, okay, there is a shortcut there. I'm definitely not missing it this time. I barely avoided that delivery truck. Okay, so heading across the bridge now, through Hyde Park. I also think Downing Street is somewhere down here as well. And heading through here, and
a real trip.
I think I have definitely got it this time, and yes I have.
Oh, you brat!
You prat! How dare you! Well, at least you won't be crying now. Emily, it takes a lot more than just a few punitive insults to make a guy like me cry. Plus, to be completely honest, people rarely ever see me cry, so... Ha! I beat you. You polished whore. And by the way, this is in response to all those times she called me a wanker. I figure it's only, necessary for me to repay her that way. Well, at least I can say prat is much less of an insult than what she was calling me before. So yeah, I will take it. And now we need to change over to Emily's first car, which, as far as I know, is I think called the Amateur, or the Amita, I think. No, sorry, I'm thinking of another car. Okay, yeah, I'm thinking of Amateur. But anyway, this is the car we win from Emily. The Ascent 235. And manual transmission, and as for the colour, well... I wonder what this thing looks like in orange. You know what, yeah. I am going to drive this thing in orange. It actually looks quite good in orange, personally. But yeah, so I did have a look through the races and I discovered, well, Emily had the second set of races, and I basically thought it was only necessary for me to do her first before I do Lukas Howell-Jones. Or to put it simply, Lukas. Well, Lukas HJ, if I include his nickname. But yeah, so we have now got Emily's first car, and next time we will be going after HJ's first car. Coming up next.